We are joined right now, as promised, by the former Attorney General of the United States, Mike Mukasey, who is making a return appearance. Thank you, sir, very much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Well, it's my pleasure. There's so much, and there's nobody better than you to speak to about this in the wake of what we've witnessed today. I don't know how much of it you got to see of the hearings where Eric Holder.
I did not see the hearings.
Okay,
I actually have a day job, so I don't get to.
Well, this is my day job, so let me let you hear some of this. Of course, let's start with the AP scandal involving the Justice Department getting the phone records of the AP. And Eric Holder, of course, told the world yesterday he had recused himself from that, and he didn't sign the subpoena. So here's a little exchange between Congressman Sensenbrenner, this will be 59, and the Attorney General. Here it is.
I don't know. I'm trying to find out who authorized the subpoena. You can't tell me if Deputy Attorney General Cole authorized the subpoena. Somebody had to authorize the subpoena because the Code of Federal Regulations is pretty specific that this is supposed to go as close to the top as possible.
Well, no, what I'm saying is that I can't say as a matter of fact, but I have to assume, and I'd say I would probably be 95, 99% certain that the Deputy Attorney General, acting in my stead, was the one who authorized the subpoena.
Now, Mr. Attorney General, he did say a few minutes later, after someone whispered in his ear, that it was the Deputy Attorney General. But it's inconceivable to me that after yesterday saying he recused himself, knowing that this is a huge story, and knowing he would be testifying today, but even if he weren't, that he would know who did in fact 100% know who signed the subpoena? How could he have sat there and said, I can't tell you for sure?
Well, look, giving the man the benefit of the doubt, I suppose if he recused himself from the matter, he doesn't want to be seen questioning or cross-questioning people on who actually authorized the subpoena. Who actually authorized it is really just the, kind of the tip of the iceberg
sure.
here. And it's the decoration on the tree or whatever. But I don't think it's. I think. He said, well, eventually the answer was whispered in his ear, 100%
sure.
certain, and he believed to a high degree of certainty before that that it was the deputy, and presumably the deputy, as a matter of course, would step in his stead. He has every reason to expect that. I would have expected it in his place. So.
Well, why would he have recused himself? I mean, he kind of explained it today. He said he's not sure exactly when he recused himself. But in this kind of a situation where there's an investigation of a leak about a possible matter of national security, just explain in the simplest terms possible why the Attorney General might need to recuse himself in the first place.
Sure. If there's a leak and a certain number of people had access to the information that was leaked, and if he was one of them, then he may very well be questioned as to who he talked to about it, and therefore not be the person who could, because he's in a sense involved as a fact witness, if for no other reason, at least to rule him out as a source of the leak. If he had access to the information that was leaked, then he shouldn't be running the investigation into who leaked it.
Okay, I got another soundbite for you. This one is actually from National Public Radio, and this will be cut number 50. And this, I don't know if this question was asked based on this interview, or this question was asked at all today, but tell me if this concerns you. Here's cut 50.
Seizing records from reporters is unusual, so unusual that I asked the Attorney General how often he'd done it over the years.
I'm not sure how many of those cases that I have actually signed off on. I take them very seriously. I know that I have refused to sign a few, pushed a few back for modifications.
Okay, now Alberto Gonzalez, another member of the former Attorney General's Club, said that he remembers one case in the Bush administration where he considered issuing that type of subpoena that was issued for the AP, but he decided against it. Did you ever issue such a subpoena? And how? I mean, I would assume it's so uncommon. I was kind of surprised to hear Attorney General Holder say, well, I really don't remember how many of these I signed, and I wonder if the journalists involved know about it.
Well, I don't know whether they know about it or not. I do know that there are guidelines for obtaining information from journalists, and there are a number of different kinds of or categories of information that you might try to get from a journalist. I mean, journalists are just like everybody else. If they're witnesses to crimes, then they have the same obligation that any other citizen has to provide evidence. But the Justice Department is very careful about gathering that evidence from journalists because they also have a function of writing about government, and that shouldn't be interfered with. So they try to tread very, very carefully when they do that. As a result, when there's a request to a journalist directly for information, that has to go through the Attorney General himself, and or unless in a situation where he's recused, through the Deputy Attorney General. If you're talking about records, that's in a different category. I don't recall whether I had any such cases or not. I do recall that I had at least one case involving a request for information from a reporter. But they are, as who said and as he said, rare.
Okay, we're talking to former U.S. Attorney General Mike Mukasey here on the Steve Malzberg Show. By the way, the White House has just released the full Benghazi emails, which show the details that took place in the changing of the talking points. Let me ask you, and let's switch to the IRS situation. From what you've heard so far, from what we know so far, and I don't know how much we know, I mean, if you've read the report that came out or what was available, is this on its face against the law, what the IRS is alleged to have done here?
What the IRS, there was an Inspector General's report that I think was issued today. Is that right?
Yeah, well, it was leaked by CNN last night, and the president even said based on it, he was outraged, and the appropriate action should be taken to anybody found to be culpable, blah blah. But
culpable in what? Leaking it or?
Well, no, not leaking it. No. Yeah, right. No, involved in any wrongdoing within the IRS. But
right.
They're still playing the word games, the semantics, and basically saying still that it was just a few low-level people in Cincinnati that were responsible here.
Yeah, that I'd like to see somebody pull on the end of that piece of spaghetti, because it says that inappropriate criteria were used to identify tax-exempt applications, that is, applications for tax-exempt status for review. And it points out that some got reviewed that didn't have Tea Party in the name or didn't have Patriot in the name, but a lot did that did have Tea Party or Patriot in the name. And those should not have been used as criteria for review. Okay, that's fine as far as it goes, but it doesn't go very far. It doesn't tell us, who the people were, why they did what they did, and that's something that really needs to be teased out, I think.
Well, we're now talking about up to 500 groups. We're talking about pro-Israel groups as well as other groups in addition to Tea Party or Patriot. And now we find out that at the same time, nonprofits on the left, so-called progressive groups, were also granted their status without the whole rigmarole that the right groups were put through. And John Boehner took to the microphones today and said, what I want to know is who's going to jail for this. I mean, is it possible that this plays out and somebody goes to jail for what they did?
Is it possible? Sure. But there's a number of steps that have to be taken, including the finding that somebody set out specifically to target groups based on political considerations, based on standards that are and did so purposely for the purpose of doing that, and did so outside the rules, and that's and did it with the proper level of intent. There's a lot of steps between an Inspector General's report and the jailhouse.
Right, but it's not out of the realm of possibility.
It's not out of the realm of possibility, no.
Yeah. All right, let me play for you one more soundbite, if I might. And this, I want to know how you would react to this. This was Eric Holder testifying today, and he attacks Darrell Issa in a kind of a shocking way. I'd like you to hear this. Here we go.
Attorney General, our investigators have seen 34 of the 35 admitted emails that violate the Federal Records Act. They have only seen the to and from. They have not seen the deliberative contents, and they have not seen the remainder of the 1,200 emails. Mr. Cummings, my ranking member, joined in a letter requesting that we have the full contents pursuant to our subpoena of all 1,200. Will you make them available to the committee based on our bipartisan request?
I will certainly look at the request. It's not something that I've personally been involved in, but I'll look at the request and try to be as responsive as we can. I'm sure there must have been a good reason why only the to and from parts were provided.
Yes, you didn't want us to see the details. Mr. Attorney General, knowing the to and from,
typically do.
knowing the to
I'm
and
not going to stop talking now. Characterize something as something.
Mr. Chairman, would you inform the witness as to the rules of this committee?
That is inappropriate and is too consistent with the way in which you conduct yourself as a member of Congress. It's unacceptable and it's shameful.
The gentleman has the time, and the gentleman may ask the questions that he deems appropriate.
Okay, so
Thank you,
there
Mr.
he said that the behavior of Darrell Issa, basically in general, is unacceptable and shameful, the way he conducts himself as a member of Congress. What's your take on that kind of back and forth?
Well, generally, when you're a witness appearing before a congressional committee, it's unwise to engage in that kind of personal back and forth. That's an oversight committee. They've got an obligation to do oversight. Whatever you think in your own mind, whatever your political view might be, whatever you might want to express at your dinner table, generally you try to keep to business when you're in front of a committee. It's not usually a smart idea to get into that because it's their proceeding, not yours, and they generally have more bullets than you do in that situation.
Did he cross a line? Would you call his behavior? How would you describe his behavior?
Oh, I think it was ill-considered. I think it's something that if he reflected on it, he might have second thoughts about. But I don't, is it the crime of the century? No.
Okay. Mr. Attorney General, as always, thank you so much for your input. We appreciate it, sir.
Thanks. Thanks
pleasure.
for having me.
Thank you. My pleasure. All right. Former U.S. Attorney General Mike